Good day. Today I want to share a movie story I wrote a few days ago. It is a sad story, a short story, but it can make into a very good small movie, a short movie. I gave a working title as The Death of Servant Maid. The Death of Servant Maid. There is this family, a rich farming community family from West Godavari. They own a lot of agricultural lands. They own a lot of fishing ponds where they grow fish and shrimp and export to Far East like Japan and Malaysia, Singapore and Indonesia like that. They export all the fish and shrimp from the fish ponds in West Godavari to these countries. It is owned by Raghavendra Rao. He's a rich farmer who lives, he got his wife and he's in mid-60s or late 60s with his wife and one of his daughter and son. They live in the United States. They immigrated a long time ago. Sometimes he visits them and they visit him. And he also has a third son who is in early 30s. His name is Saker. He did a master's in fishery science and food science, and he basically maintains, he is the brain behind these fish ponds. He don't do that much agriculture except he take care of the fish pond. And then they rented a nice single home in Hyderabad, one of the suburbs in Hyderabad, with a nice house, independent house, freestanding house, with a backyard and a deep well and the servant quarters, everything nice. So his father and son spent a lot of time in Hyderabad in rented house, doing business, making contracts with these foreign countries and going to the banking and seeing lawyers and all that stuff. So they live sometimes 1-2 months together, or sometimes Saker will visit Japan or Singapore or Malaysia, all those countries, Vietnam. He visits and it's generally 4 to 5 day trip. He come back and his father maybe go back to his home native place in West Godavari and spend a couple of weeks. So there are sometimes where Saker live by himself weeks and sometimes months. And they have a servant maid, a living servant maid. That means the servant maid lives in the house, in the backyard, in the maid quarter. There's a nice small house. And she lives and cook and then do cleaning, washing clothes, and washing and drying and ironing and making breakfast, lunch and dinner, and wash the dishes and buy vegetables, go to vegetable market, grocery market, everything she does 24/7. She goes to bed around 9 o'clock and then she wakes up and come to the main house 7 o'clock and she start making breakfast. That is her routine work, which she has been doing for a couple of years. She's in mid-20s, a dark girl from countryside, innocent looking, with an accent, with a country accent she speaks. And the Raghavendra Rao and his son Saker take good care of their maid because she is very hardworking and she comes from village. She has no place to roam around in the city. So sometimes she goes to movies on weekend. Some movies she likes it, and they gave her a TV and a radio and a few small bare necessity furniture for her to have a good living. And when Raghavendra Rao is not there for weeks, Saker spends with Lakshmi a lot. And then that developed into some kind of illicit relationship. They used to sleep together. They're having they're having sex now and then. And that relation is mutually consented. She agreed to sleep with him and he wanted to sleep with her. And he awarded her, he gave a lot of money, gifts, not telling his father, secretly all this happening. It's happening for perhaps for a year or more. And Raghavendra Rao, his father, is a very intelligent man. He doesn't have a college education, but he is a street smart, He's a successful businessman, successful farmer. He knows what's going on, so he smells a rat. He believes that his son is sleeping with the servant maid, and that is a big no-no, because his son is getting married, his son bringing maybe hundreds of lakhs of dowry. It's from rich family. If they know, or if this comes out or goes out, spread like a wildfire, this news, his son will never get married, So he decided, Raghavendra Rao, to somehow get rid of the maid, He wants to get rid of it by any means. So in one day, Sekhar has to travel to Singapore for a big trip. So he says goodbye to his dad and of course tell Lakshmi in an official way. In the house he behaves like he treats like a servant, not like a girlfriend, so that his father did not get a doubt that there is something going on between him and his servant maid. And then he left for Singapore. The next day, Raghavendra Rao go to store and buy rat poison. He brings the jar of rat poison and mixes his food. After dinner, he mixes the food, the leftover food, which Lakshmi takes every night to her house, backyard house, and eats in front of a TV. That is a habit. It's happening, day after night, evening after evening. So one evening he mixes a large amount of rat poison in the food, and spicy food doesn't detect, there's something, contamination. So Lakshmi takes the food, she consumes the food, she fell ill, she screams, he can hear she's crying, but he doesn't go there at all, let her die, let her suffer and die. And then in the morning, when he go to her maid's house in the backyard, he found she's dead on her bed. There's a lot of vomit and everything on the floor. So he carefully lifts the body. He's a heavy man, he's a farmer. And this maid is a weakling. So he carries the body and throw it in the deep well, backyard well. With a big thud, the body fell into the deep well. That is around 30 feet or 35, 40 feet deep. And then he comes, clean up the whole vomit, everything, wash it up. And then he goes to the main house, do his business, make contacts, and talking to Sekhar every day. But he doesn't tell Lakshmi died by suicide. That is his intention. When Sekhar returns, he talks to his dad how the trip went and everything's fine, all business transaction went very fine. And then he looked for Lakshmi. He asked his dad, what happened to Lakshmi? She went shopping. He said, no, I want to tell you this, but I don't want to disturb you when you are overseas. That may bother you, but Lakshmi committed suicide. She killed herself by jumping in the deep well. He said, no, one morning she did not come to work. I went to see her, I did not see in her cottage. I went to walk her around. I had people looked into the deep well. I saw she was floating. I called the cops immediately. They came after some time, and then they removed the body from the deep well with ropes and found her dead and sent her to the hospital for postmortem and gave a death certificate, death by suicide. What can I do, So the hospital did an autopsy and then burned the body, cremated the body. It's a sad news. I'm very sorry. She's a devoted servant, you know that, and I know that. She worked for over a year, cooking meals, washing, taking care of shopping, everything. She had a poor girl, I don't know. But how she can suicide? She's a happy girl, she had satisfied life. I never saw any sadness in her. It's strange. Well, it is strange, but maybe some of his relatives, maybe she got a boyfriend who would have a fight with her. He wanted to kill her, Maybe he came one night, I don't know, in the night, midnight, somebody can come and go to the backyard and kill her by strangling her or poison her, I don't know. And then throw it in the deep well and left. And the next day, I just saw her floating in the well. That's what happened, He said, a matter of fact, there's no emotion in his voice, as if he did not feel sad. He told as if it happened. It's called matter of fact. And Sackett felt so bad for her, how can a girl, a nice girl, and besides, the maid, she's his girlfriend. He's having a romantic relation with her for a long time, He felt bad, He suspected something might have happened. He suspected some foul play took place, So he looked around. He went to the storeroom in the backyard, kitchen, every room. And then in the storeroom, somewhere stashed away behind some boxes, a small jar of rat poison, He carefully lifted, examined the bottle. It was half used. He put it in a big bag, a paper bag, and then concealed it in the house. Nobody knows it. The other thing he went to the maid's house, looked around. He saw his pots and pans, She got some pots and pans on the table, because she brings the food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then she eats some, she left some. She have a small fridge too, she removed food. But on the table he saw some food containers, half-eaten food. Some food is left, a small amount. He took a sample and sent it to the laboratory to analyze for toxicology analysis. The results came within a week, and the results show that the food is contaminated with rat poison. Immensely, large quantity of rat poison was mixed. Then he realized she was poisoned to death. Who else can do more? Only his dad have intention to kill, because he might have sensed that something going on between me and a servant maid, and so he killed Lakshmi so that I can marry with big dowry from rich family. But if the news of my illicit relation goes out, I won't get married, I won't even get dowry, let alone marriage. So I think most likely he suspected his dad. Then he realized there's a CC camera installed in front of the house 6-7 months ago, because there's a lot of thieves are breaking into the homes and stealing things. And these Rao and his son Sackett were out of town sometimes for weeks. So in their absence, Lakshmi is alone there. She's in the backyard in her small backyard cottage, a maid's quarter, where she locked the door and go to bed. Anybody can get into the main house and steal things. They have expensive, they're rich people. They have big screen TV and stereo and furniture and decorations and a lot of stuff. And a lot of jewelry. They wear gold rings and chains and bracelets, and all this stuff is there. So they installed a CC camera to protect themselves. And he took the thumbnail, the one that stores the data, the video, and then he put it in the laptop and ran for a week just before he left. And then the first day he left, Lakshmi came from the vegetable vendor, shouted, vegetable for sale, like that. There's always vegetable vendor, people selling some small utensils or salt, or fruits and vegetables and cooking oils, kerosene, all kind of vendors every day. They give a shout in front of every house. And Lakshmi goes out and buys if she wants it. And he saw Lakshmi buying vegetables the first day he left. And then she saw Lakshmi again doing something in the front yard. Maybe she's cleaning. The second day, he saw Lakshmi again buying vegetables and cleaning front yard and taking care of it. The third day, he did not see Lakshmi on the CC camera footage. He did not see her on the footage at all. Third, fourth, fifth, he did not see Lakshmi at all. When he came back, of course, he removed the memory stick and then put it in the laptop and saw what happened to Lakshmi. She was there. She lived for 2 days. She was alive for 2 days when she is here. But after she disappeared, she just is. Most likely she was poisoned and thrown into the deep well by his dad to avoid the embarrassment of illicit relationship. I'm sure his dad knows it, what's going on. He's an old wise man. So he goes to the police department with all the evidence, with the lab report of the food analysis, with the container of the rat poison, and CC camera footage on the tape, on the thumbnail. And goes to this, my dad, I suspect my dad killed her because there's nobody. The camera doesn't show entry of any human being 24/7 for days preceding going to the Singapore or after I came. So you should do something. So the police saw the report, they went to and arrested Raghu, who was lying down, relaxing, watching a TV with a cup of coffee. And they said, you are under arrest for death of your servant maid Lakshmi. He was puzzled, surprised, shocked. And Saikar was there, He looked at Saikar, he said, you did all this. I did everything for you, and then you did this for me. And you are not worthy of my son. And he shouted, screamed, and bad words. And the police took away, put him in the jail, awaiting trial, and most likely he's going to be convicted of murder of his servant maid Lakshmi. The story is a sad story, I know that. It's a dark story. It's a tragic ending. Lakshmi, a nice, innocent girl from village working as a maid for a rich people from West Godavari farming community. And she faced her death in the hand of the old man, and poisoned and thrown into the deep well and floated next day morning like a dead body. So there are some nice moments, the romantic moments between Lakshmi and Saikar. There are some songs, dance songs, some dream songs between Lakshmi and Saikar. And they're eating food and having jokes. And also there are comic relief, comic scenes. When Saikar goes to Singapore, his driver is an Indian driver. He gives a lot of jokes. And in the Indian restaurants where he eats food in Singapore, there's a lot of Indian restaurants called Little India. That's where he stays. There's a lot of comedy. Besides comedy, dance, and songs, which give entertainment, the story is strong. It's a dark story, it's a tragic story, it's a sad story, but story has some meaning in it. How rich people take advantage of poor people. The poor people have no choice, and the rich people have everything to gain from this. So this story, you can buy copyrights from me, and I could be a part of script writing if you have a team who can take this story and expand it and modify it and make it a good movie script. I'm happy to join the script writers if you have one. You can buy the copyright by contacting me, by contacting my email through email, subba4@msn.com. SUBBA4, like number 4, @msn.com. subba4@msn.com. Thank you. Bye.